Well, it's a great day to have a great day. Welcome back to another program of Life Rewired. Two great guests with us today. One is a caregiver. Her name is Tara. And we also have her husband, Barry, who is a brain injury survivor. If you're new here and you haven't already done so, please hit the subscribe button. We have found that by hitting the subscribe button, that helps push our content out to other people who might be wanting to find interesting stories like this. So, welcome today, Barry and Tara.
Thank you.
Did I say that right, Tara?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Exactly right. Yep. So
Good, good, good. I have one of those last names that people butcher all the time. So, so anyway, welcome to the program. It's so nice to finally get to chat with you guys. So take us back. Barry, you were telling us off the air about you were on a bicycle and things just went south. So if you could just catch us up to speed.
It was Christmas Day in 2012, and we were horsing around with the family and kids while we were waiting for Christmas dinner to finish cooking. And I went over the handlebars on the scooter I was on and hit my forehead with the pavement with not the mass of a 6-year-old on a scooter, but the mass of a 40-something-year-old person.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you weren't wearing a helmet.
Behind it with no helmet, which is pretty important in my life at this point.
Yeah.
And I woke up 7 or 8 days later in a coma from a coma situation. So.
Yeah.
So Barry, we didn't know. We were a little bit behind him in the walk. We heard our kids. We had 3 young kids at the time. They were screaming ahead. So we started running to find out what happened. And found Barry crumpled on the side of the road with a scooter underneath him. And his skull had broken open on the left side. And so all we saw was just blood coming out of every orifice. And it was a very scary situation. Luckily, where we were, the neighbors came out with blankets for the kids, and someone had called 911, and it was just an amazing community thing that everyone was trying to take care of the kids while we were trying to, we grabbed every cloth we could to stop the bleeding coming out. But it was incredible, and he was unconscious. We never regained consciousness. Luckily for us, we were visiting family in North Carolina at the time when this happened. That's why we're out walking on Christmas Day. It wasn't snowing or anything. And there was a the number one neuro ICU 15 minutes from where my sister lived. So the ambulance came. As they loaded him in the ambulance, he started getting very thrashing around and violent. And it was at that point someone said to me, "Looks like a brain injury." I had never heard of a brain injury before, but they could tell by the way he was acting that that was most likely what's going to be the issue. So we got to the hospital, and many hours later found out they got him stabilized in the ICU. They had put a stent in his head, or shunt, I should say, in his head to lower the pressure from the brain kind of building up. And he had sustained a contra coup injury where the brain had hit the the frontal lobe, and then bounced and hit the temporal lobe. So they said there's damage on both lobes. And then he sustained 4 brain bleeds. One of them was subdural, which I guess was much more dangerous.
Yeah.
And then also a midline shift in his brain. So there were a lot of issues. They were watching, and we heard these horrible words of, in the next 24 hours, we'll determine whether he lives or dies.
Wow.
And here's, my 3 kids and I in a foreign, unknown, strange ICU and on Christmas night. And it was so scary, the scariest night we've had. So that was, if you look at him today, and, we're so grateful that he made the recovery dip. But those early days were very, very scary. They did induce him into a coma to lower, they said on a coma scale of 1 to 10, he was lowered to like a level 3 to really keep that brain silent so it could heal. Okay. And it was not until January 2nd that they brought him out of the coma, and he woke up, and we were able to see what truly what damage he had sustained.
Had they given you any idea how long they were going to keep him in a coma?
They wanted to wait until the pressure started stabilizing on its own. They were watching, I remember there was a number on a machine that we watched daily, and they were watching that number. And once it stabilized and wasn't growing anymore and it was reducing, they knew that they could start to lift the medications. And then he gradually woke up. It took about 2 days. Once they reduced the medications, it still was about 2 days before he woke up.
I know my wife immediately started Googling what is a brain injury and what are the symptoms.
Yeah.
Did you do that as well?
I don't remember Googling it. And the reason why, I think 2012, where were we at with Google? I don't know,
Yeah.
but
I don't know.
We were pretty hip to it, I think. Yeah.
I just don't remember that. I remember we were in an ICU that had many, many families there was 8 different rooms of trauma patients. And so the waiting room became like a community in itself. So we were, and my sister and her family and his parents came down and his brother came down. So it was always a flood of people. So when I wasn't sitting next to him, which really I don't think I left his bedside for the most part, there was always people, to chat with and stuff. So I don't remember having a lot of alone time per se. It was always talking with the nurses in his room, talking to him as much as I could, or being out in the waiting room. But I do know once a nurse, a case manager got involved, and the Brain Injury Association of New Hampshire somehow got in touch with us knowing we were from New Hampshire and actually called me down there and said, let's talk about what a brain injury is. And I thought that was fantastic.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
You don't hear that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that phone call. And I ended up meeting the woman many weeks later of who called me herself. But that was such a touching phone call because I knew there was someone out there that had our back once we got back home too.
That's amazing. I love that. I wish more people had that phone call from one of their alliances.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot of ideas about that.
Yeah.
They're working on it. They are, believe it or not, but it's going to be a huge overtaking.
I remember the biggest thing we learned about, or the biggest thing they kept emphasizing about brain injury is every brain injury is different. Every one. And and they also kept saying it's not a race, it's a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a marathon with roller coasters. And those were the things I kept cycling in my head. So when we had really low days or really scary days, or I would talk to someone else. I ended up having phone calls at the hospital from someone we would know that said, "Hey, you didn't know this, but my brother has brain injury." And they would talk me through their experience. But then I'm like, that's nothing like what I'm hearing, So I kept reciting everything we were learning, like no brain injury is the same. And, all of that made a lot more sense to me down the road. But those were the 3 things I remember learning in the hospital.
I think what stuck out to me, my neurologist told me if you got a room full of people and you hit every single person in the same spot on the head at the same force, every single one of them would be different.
And it makes sense because the brain's incredible. Like how we saw his neurons reconnecting and all the things he went to and where he is today compared to where he was in 2013, insane. And I have such a respect for the brain, and so it makes sense that every little nuance in the brain is going to be different for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Those first 3 months of various appointments after appointments, and seeing different professionals, the amount of times I was told, I would have expected you to roll in here. I didn't think that you be coherent at all, right? Based on the charts they had seen. So
right.
I'm very, very so grateful for the outcome that I have. But there are, and it's been very challenging, but my outlook has helped me to find some productivity in that, and that I'm still able to communicate what's been happening to me in a way that people might understand.
Yeah.
And, maybe I oversell that sometimes, but I feel like I can explain what's happening to me during the parts of the day that I can communicate better. Yeah. in ways that people would appreciate what's going on.
Right.
I had the opportunity to explain it to them and share it with them. So
I'm sure you're like me. The better part of the day for myself is the early part of the day.
yes, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I did return to work briefly. Um, it didn't. It lasted a couple of years, and I realized it was not the best use of my time
Yeah.
as a father and as a member of a household. So I ended up leaving work permanently. Um, and I've forgotten what I was going to say because that happens from time to time.
Well, I think
Oh
you're
yeah.
that
But you're talking about returning to work.
Morning, yeah. So while I was at work, the morning was if it's before noon, I might invent time travel. But after 2, don't listen to anything that I say because it's probably not a great idea, not well conceived.
Yes.
Because every day was, you start fresh and you have a certain level of capability,
Mm-hmm.
and you just kind of watch it disappear as the day goes on. And Fridays will be worse than Mondays.
Yep.
So like Friday evenings, if we were out to dinner, this is kind of years after. Um, Fridays, if we're out to dinner, then it's not Dad's job to calculate the tip because he can't really do math very well on a Friday afternoon.
I get that.
Yeah,
So get that.
yeah,
Yeah, I do want to clarify though, your choice to leave work wasn't necessarily optional. His boss made it clear that he was struggling quite a bit and they didn't want to let him go. And that's where the disability came in. But he was strict, the what we call the oranges, the energy levels, like he was down to zero after working. And
Yeah.
most of the times he was down to zero by like noon. And his boss luckily was a great guy, worked with us, and he would say, I don't have him in the afternoon. It's like he's there, but he's not doing anything. He's not able to work. And so it became clear to us that, the only way to solve this was to have him stop working. And sure enough, that's when things got better for our family because he wasn't coming home and just going right to bed. He was able to
Mm-hmm.
just be a father or be a husband, but still that was limited. He does much better today, but he still only had 2 to 3 good hours any day for a very
Yeah.
long time. So it was something that was very, very important that he take that step as hard as I know that was for him to leave work permanently.
Yeah.
it's my impression that, well, it's our impression, a collective understanding, I guess, is that I was always thought of as a clever or a smart person, in that it's that level of intelligence somehow is keeping the lights on during the day. So I do live with a constant, uh, not a begrudging fear, but just that should I re-injure again someday, that
Mm-hmm.
I may have used, I might damage that which I'm so dependent on. So today I appreciate a very high level of independence and being able to drive on my own and be the best house husband I can be and be the best father I can be. But were I to re-injure myself, that may not necessarily be remain true.
Mm-hmm. And I
Uh,
get the fear factor there because that's always in the back of my head too.
yeah,
I don't know if you're ever told this, Rob, but the doctor told me early on, and then I think another doctor reiterated it to you that if he were able to if you ever would hit his head again and would hit the same spot, he said there wouldn't be a recovery the second time.
Wow.
And so basically that, there's no second chance if you were to, if you were to hit his head in the back of his head, actually you did, and that scared us one time.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's different. That's not where he hit it's really like if he was to hit his temporal lobe
yeah.
again and something like
Yeah.
that, then he said there'd be no recovery. And so, yeah, I understand why that fear is there because you felt
Oh
like you
yeah.
your one
Yeah.
life in that regard. So,
I have a lot of short-term memory issues. I don't remember a lot of my past now. Long term is there. The short term, forget about it. I couldn't tell you what I had for breakfast. I do remember the first time I hit my head after my brain injury, and it scared the daylights out of
Yeah.
me.
he, as we were taking him to, because the back of his head was bleeding, he fell and hit the ice.
Mm,
We were taking him to the hospital. He's telling me Now remember, I don't want to be kept alive under, artificial like he's
Yeah,
giving
because
me
these are
his last
conversations.
wishes. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, can we
Yeah.
just get to the hospital?
Well, I want to make sure I get it out before I
he,
forget to
he was
mention it.
absolutely, the fear in his
Yeah.
eye was, I've never seen it like that. I felt so bad for him. Like, this is probably just, it turned out just be a little bleeding and we're okay, but I got it. That was,
Yeah, it was a few staples and good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
But
the staples. Oh, I remember those.
yeah.
There's a reason why the kids called him Iron Man.
Yeah, the frontal lobe injury though does, I could reasonably change my name to Frank because the blurts I come out with at times, saying the wrong thing at the wrong time,
Oh yeah.
happens. Less so as the time has gone on, because I basically relearned how to adult. So even in events
Yeah.
like today or with you, I'm doing my very best at pretending to adult.
I get it. I
And
get it.
yeah, and it's things like this I use to describe what's going on, so the people that I care about, so they understand that it's not always easy, and sometimes it's not always easy to remember to
Mm-hmm.
remind people that you care about that you need that help and that you need the
Exactly.
extra latitude to do what they might find so simple.
Yeah, we have a lot of times we have conversations when we get home. My wife will say, "Now, what you said, you shouldn't have said this." I'm like, "But it was an ugly shirt." Yeah, but you don't tell
Right,
people that.
right.
The filter is gone.
Yeah, it would be wrong to be dishonest, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
If someone asks you your opinion, you're going to give it to them.
yeah,
Yeah.
Only your ability to lie is no longer there because you're just
yeah.
telling them what's on your head.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than when I first woke up because I guess I was really, it's that progression from
Baby.
a baby, a toddler to
Right.
teenager comments and to nurses that they probably didn't need to hear,
Mm-hmm.
to just kind of gravitating towards the relatively facile adult I am now.
Yeah.
I remember there was a lady, a nurse in his room, and we were already seeing the extreme unfilteredness, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lady that walked in, and she had purple gear on, smock and everything, purple scrubs. But she was also a very large woman, and when she walked in, my sister, his brother, we all like went, "Oh no," because we were just like horrified, like what's going to come out of his mouth. And he looks and he's like, "Oh, hello, purple lady," and we're like. We all took a breath, like, because we weren't sure what he was going to observe first. But we have so many stories, and actually, to be honest with you, in the beginning, the unfilteredness was so hard. Like, there's obviously, I got to put a plug out there for all the caregivers. So much adjustments for the family, so much adjustments for the wives, and spouses, because now we were living with this person that was very different than
Mm-hmm.
they were before the fall or the
Exactly.
accident. And but what has turned it, as we adjusted to, some of those moments now are some of our family's best humor moments where we just can laugh with him and just, we don't take everything so seriously as we did early on.
Yeah.
Because he always was a funny guy before, but now he's like really funny because like some of that unfiltered stuff just makes us burst out laughing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did. And I kept telling him, like, he relearned, and I kept telling him, as long as you keep trying, I'm in this with you. And he did. He kept trying, kept coming back to, like you said, your wife. Like I'd get in the car, I'm like, okay, let's debrief. When you said that to so and so,
Yep.
not okay. And he would learn from that, and I just love that.
And
He kept trying.
that continues. I mean, there's so many.
Oh yeah.
Responsible situations that I would be part of that I need that guidance. If it's not in the moment, after the fact, I need the, this could have been better, or this is something you probably should have avoided.
Yeah.
And I work very hard to kind of fold those into the new person that I am. And I think that's another important metaphor is that so many people are injured. With a brain injury, your personhood changes. The person that you are might be different and may not ever return to the person that you were before, for in subtle ways or severe ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found strength in my acceptance of that, you know, I've met with a lot of neurologists, and you quickly learn that to some extent, some of these affects, there is no fix for that. There's no science that exists to rectify that or
Right.
make brain tissue whole again, you know.
Correct.
Um, and I say that not to be a downer, but that, you know, it has helped me to accept that and move forward rather than dwell on it.
Did
You know,
you ever get involved in any support groups?
a little bit early on, um, and I struggled a bit because that acceptance um, came. Grateful that came somewhat easy to me. And you know, we had lunch with a couple one day, and the gentleman was the injured guy was I think was a rescue person or a firefighter, and his father was a firefighter, and all he could talk about was how he was at a brain injury and how he's going to return to the rescue squad again. And the more I listened to him, I had to be careful with the frankness and
Mm-hmm.
not blurt out that, like, I don't think that's going to happen. And
Right.
you should find, you know, obviously I'm not an expert and would not be the final arbiter of what people can and can't do with their time or their life.
Right.
But in that moment, I had recalled that, you know, finding whatever else it is that you may find useful or fulfilling in life
Mm-hmm.
might be a better use of your time and energy.
Yeah.
And that's not always true. Um, but in my case, you know, there's something else I could be doing to feel useful and fruitful,
True.
and be better use of my batteries that I have available.
Right. You know, it's amazing. Like we've already talked about, everyone's so different. I'm friends with the guy that he recovered. He still has his days. He has symptoms still, years later. He was determined he was going to go back to school and become an attorney, and he did it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
And then
know.
you have other people that can't function more than 5 minutes a day.
yeah,
I know. And again,
So,
it depends on where that damage happened
right.
and also the nuances of the brain. I mean, I don't think you mind me sharing
Hmm.
one of his biggest deficits, or I don't know if it's a deficit. 'Cause there's some days I wouldn't mind it. Um, is he lost most of most of the damage occurred in his emotional area. So he lost most of his emotions. He has more of a flat affect. I think that was advantageous to him when it came to accepting your old life is gone. You now have this new life of, you no longer can work and you have these other deficits and you're disabled and things like that. Whereas someone who still remembers their old life and the emotions attached to that,
Hmm.
that's a lot harder to accept the loss of that.
It
And
is.
I'm not trying to in any way diminish what his acceptance is. I'm just saying, like, I think that might have come a little easier only because he didn't have the emotions attached to the
Mhm.
loss of
yeah.
that.
And that's that factor, and that hey, Dad doesn't really get particularly upset or happy like ever. You know, that took me 3 or 4 years before I really understood. Like, what do you mean? Of course I get happy or joyful or upset about things.
Yeah.
Then the more I realize it's like, well, no, it really doesn't happen that often. That the intensity of feelings just doesn't come. Now, I do feel like I'm still sensitive to others with some coaching, and I do feel like I can empathetic to the feelings of others and can sense the feelings of others, but my feelings on the matter are just not that important to me um, in many situations. And sometimes that is helpful, and sometimes it's weird. You know, sometimes I'll be, you know, in sad situations and like, boy, he doesn't really seem very troubled or upset. And I'm like, what?
Unfortunately, he went through the
He's
lot.
up, you
We
know.
lost his father, and he didn't feel the emotion behind that. And we saw that. We expected that.
Yeah, we did a lot of caregiving together of our parents,
And then my parents.
your
And
parents, and I was in the room with her father just after he passed, and while everyone was rushing around making phone calls and stuff, and in the room with a body there, and that's not something I would have thought myself capable of, but I was like, how about that? And
Yeah.
in the flatness of that was striking to myself. So sometimes I get reminded, and sometimes I have these moments of kind of rediscovery and self introspection that are
Yeah.
quite
For me,
yeah.
I was never an emotional person my entire life. I had a very hard life growing up. So
Yep.
I guess I grew up way too fast and had so many walls built up around me. But now, oh my gosh, a Geico commercial could come on and I'm crying at the Geico commercial. My wife's looking like, who's this man?
I've heard, yeah, you can go the other way, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, she never saw me cry.
he has described to me that although he's different, he can literally feel inside his brain like walls that are gone now. So he has capability. Well, for one thing, his fear. Now maybe that's an emotional thing, but he had a severe fear of spiders in his old life. That's gone. He like literally I'll never forget the first time he reached down and picked up this giant spider and tossed it over the deck. My mouth just hung open. And it was the first time I realized, oh right, your fear is gone. But like he's like, yeah, I can feel walls that have like opened up for me, and I have other skills or other thoughts or other things that are different than who I was before. I mean, the way he describes it, I'm fascinated.
Yeah, I just decided that probably black coffee is fine now. So I just started drinking black coffee instead of milk and sugar. So, and it just happened, and then I never looked back. And there's been a number of other things that it just works like that.
He didn't drink alcohol at all before,
like really at all,
and then he started drinking scotch afterwards. Went right for the hard stuff. But again, it's just like you said, you didn't cry before, you cried out.
It's
like
a hobby thing, it's not like a.
Oh, I'm not saying.
Well, it's important to know. Some people.
She's going to put you in another support group now.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, not every injury doesn't end without a chemical problem.
Hey, I still drink my coffee, but I always have to have it cold. I love days that I don't freeze my coffee in the freezer.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you think that?
Yeah, well, losing things. So I'm going to put this right here so I don't lose it and then lose it. And in caring for the older people in our life and encountering older people when you don't work and you just move about the world during the week when other old people are doing stuff, the perception of being early onset 87-year-old man is always there. So when I interact with older folks, sometimes I'm like, I see what they're trying to do and how they're trying to accommodate.
Yeah.
And kind of rail against that oncoming, looking for the word, or where their car is, or things like that. My wife will sometimes get frustrated when we go to the supermarket together, and it'll be like, we have to park in front of the N. Like, why are we parking in front of the N? Because that way I always know where the car is when I come out.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah, because you feel, when you feel like an old man when you come out and you can't find your car. It doesn't happen every time, but it happens enough that it's an adjustment to be sure.
What I was going to bring up is how many times he forgets to put a shirt on, especially in the winter. He'll show up somewhere, take off his jacket, and realize he never did put a shirt on. So we've had many of those encounters.
I had a work day where earlier on that I went out and we had snow, so I was shoveling to get the cars out, get to work. All right, cars are all shoveled out. I get my jacket on, get in the car, drive to work. I get to work, take my jacket off, and I'm like, I'm just wearing a t-shirt. And I forgot to finish getting dressed. And I'm like, hey, boss, I got to go over to the mall and buy like a business casual shirt because I forgot to finish getting dressed today. But, those are kind of the things of the bearing of that job that one of the indicators I knew I couldn't really do that anymore.
Yeah.
Or when I do run out of the ability to be an adult and remember the important things
Right.
gets harder and harder to explain at a job that you find so valuable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's hard to let go of it.
Have you ever gotten in the shower and to discover you're so clothed?
No, but I have gotten very close to that. Yeah, yeah, I've been in great danger of that. Yeah. The other thing you mentioned, forgetting what you had for breakfast, I find that I have to sleep on things. Like if you ask me about anything that happened today, I'll be happy to answer that tomorrow after sleeping all night.
Oh, okay.
Because I find, and this is one of those things that I feel like I can describe. It seems like it could be useful, is that I have to sleep on things to write out my short-term memory to longer-term memory.
Right.
Um, the other thing is with memory is that while the memories that I might have to recall used to be posters on the walls of the halls of my mind, they're now in an index card catalog in drawers. So when I
Yeah.
have to recall something, I have to find a drawer and go through the cards to recall that information or that memory or that.
Now, are you good at note taking?
I'm much better at note. I was never good at note taking, but one of the first things I did back at work was like documented everything that I didn't document before I was gone for 3 months. Because Barry was the one that kept everything running, and he didn't write anything down, and they were adrift, to a certain extent. They were fine, of course, but everyone thinks that work is adrift when you're not there, but
Yeah.
they were fine.
See, I live in an index card world.
Yeah.
Index cards are all over my desk. Only I'm not a great note taker. I'm
Yep.
good at writing things down like 3:00, July 4th. What's at 3:00, July 4th?
Yeah.
Now, it made sense when I made the note, but 2 weeks later, when I needed to know what I was supposed to do, not so much.
I know you've said he struggles writing in general since the injury.
Yeah.
His brain is always faster than his hand, right? Or the
Yeah.
other way.
Yeah. I would say so. Yeah. So I
struggles.
it trails off as I'm writing. The precision of it kind of gets, kind of
Gotcha.
like a form filling and things like that. That will be difficult. All of these things funnel into and I think you mentioned this, or watched a couple of your posts on YouTube to get a sense for the type of, person that you are and what you've experienced. I lost it again.
Okay.
Oh,
not sure where you were going.
Yeah, it'll come back. It'll be something interesting in a minute.
I think you're talking about the sense of what kind of a person I am, but I don't know if that helps or not.
One of the things I do find him doing, which again, he's always thinking outside the box, I think, and finding ways to, again, improve, is I'll often find him scrolling through his photos on his phone. And so I'll come up to him, I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm actually trying to remember what happened in the past couple of weeks. And those photos remind him of what's happened, because he's like, if you were to say to me, what did we do last weekend or 2 weekends ago? I honestly cannot remember, but those photos help me. And I don't know if you experience this, Rob, but I know for both he and I, this is frustrating, is a lot of our friends and some of our family will say, well, that happens to us too. I'm sure you get that. Like,
all the time.
Or, Barry's really tired. He's neurofatigued. I started using that word because his brain is just, I'm brain tired today too. That happens. And I'm like, I have to argue with you here because I know the difference. I get brain tired. I work all day. It's not what he goes through. And I will say that all day. I watch what he goes through. It's a whole different level of fatigue. It's a whole different level of needing to adult, right? Trying to adult.
Right.
So I give you guys full credit for what you're able to do, because I've seen it firsthand of what you do just to,
stay afloat,
act like a
treading
full-blown
water.
adult.
Yeah.
Right. I call it putting my mask on.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah.
Basically. And, people all the time will say, oh, I'll forget where I put my keys to.
Yeah.
I think they're trying in their way to make you feel better,
Hmm.
but there's no comparison.
No.
It's like, okay, imagine losing your keys all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A big
Yeah.
difference. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think it can make you feel more alone in your world
Hmm.
again. Like, and even as a caregiver,
Yeah.
I've had those conversations of, my husband was in a really bad way today. He went through a lot of years where it was just, he was just very different. He was very,
Yeah.
very angry, and it was just difficult to live with him for a while until we both adjusted, right?
Yeah.
But I would say things like, he's unbearable. And my husband can be that way too. I'm
Yeah.
like,
There's no comparison.
and so it just almost made me feel more isolated because I'm like, nobody
It
understands this.
does.
And that's when I
Exactly.
did, to your question earlier, I sought out support groups. For caregivers, online groups, I needed the support because otherwise I
Hmm.
thought I was crazy. I'll never
Yeah.
forget the very first time because this person you love so well, right? Before this happened, so well, just like you guys know your spouses, right? And after the accident happened, I'm having conversations with them and I'm like, this is not Barry. Like, I'm so confused, but this is not Barry, but maybe this is me. Like, it made me doubt everything about myself because I didn't want to say, like, he's different. And I'll
Yeah.
never forget my niece texted me one day and she said, Uncle Barry's different, isn't he? And when she did that, it was like this whole world opened up for me that I could say, yes, yes,
Hmm.
he is. And then we started talking more about that between ourselves and the kids and stuff to be able to call out the elephant in the room that this is
Yeah.
different. He used to call it invasion of the body snatchers.
Yeah. I had a conversation with one of my sons one time, and I said, "Do you ever get the impression that, um, like, your dad has been replaced with somebody else, and he looks the same, and he feels the same most of the time, but that he's actually not the person that you know." Also, I had to learn that I'm not the person that I knew,
Right.
and it takes a while to appreciate and understand that, um, you just want to proceed as normal, but you just have to learn
Exactly.
that there's some things just aren't as easy or as possible as they used to be.
Hmm.
But actually, your feelings on things change dramatically, and you
Yep.
can be a different person altogether. But for the people that you care about to just accept that and go, oh, he's a new person, okay. Or for you yourself to appreciate that I'm
Right.
not the same person I was, so people don't hear or see me the same way,
Yeah.
um, is a big adjustment.
It took
Um,
Right.
years for
yeah,
us to
to
get
me.
there, to get
Hmm.
back in our, to really be a couple again, honestly, because it was
Yeah,
just,
because she's married to a different person, sort of.
Right.
and he was
Um,
accepting this new life, which was a huge change for him. And so we were not, and I remember I was just telling my therapist, I'm still in therapy for this, but I was telling my therapist about this story that he started with seizures 2 years later. And so
Yeah.
we were in the neurology office.
on or about Christmas too, so I ruined Christmas all over again.
Boy, Christmas has just not been great for you the last few
Yeah,
years.
yeah. I'm coming for Easter next.
Well, what was
Yeah.
ironic, it was 2 years after his accident. Because it had happened on Christmas Day, we said, you know what? We're going to blow this out of the water. We're going to go to Disney World for Christmas. And we're going to wake up in Disney World on Christmas Day. And this can be a whole new Christmas Day. And it was December 23rd. He had a massive
Oh no.
seizure. And I'll never forget, like, I'm like, oh my God, we're not going to do Disney World.
Oh, and
But we
I
did.
woke up in the emergency room and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
It was
I mean, I just went out, blacked out, and I was fine, fortunately, other than now having a seizure disorder.
Yeah.
But I woke up and I'm like, what? Are you kidding? Because when I woke up from my initial injury coma, it had been 7 days.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm looking at my knees. I have like healed boo boos on my knees, and like I don't have a cast on. The shunt had been taken out of my head at that point, so I didn't get to see me looking like a Borg.
Yeah.
That would have been kind of fun. but yeah, so I woke up and like it had to be described to me, and I'm like, I certainly seem fine.
Yeah.
But I knew right away that I wasn't fine. But
Yeah, but so he was scared it had happened all over again 2 years later, but it was a seizure and he had the seizure disorder. But our neurologist, and shout out to Maureen Hughes if she sees us,
yeah,
because she was a godsend for us.
yes,
She was
shepherdess through
amazing
many
because she
challenges.
said, I learned about brain injuries from a book, but she goes, 95% of my teaching today is based on the experiences I've learned from my patients.
Yeah.
And she just was so amazing that way. And she said, okay, Barry, Tar, he has a seizure disorder, but you're gonna not let that change your life. So you're going to Disney World. You're gonna do this, and he's not gonna have a seizure because he was pumped full of anti-seizure medication that would last a week, and then he had
Yeah,
pills ongoing. He's done it ever since. But he's like, now you're just gonna live with a seizure disorder, but you're gonna live.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. Like, just changed our whole perspective. And yeah, still gonna take a plane, and we're still gonna do it because that's what the plans we
and
had.
I was like, okay,
And it all worked out. You know.
and
That's
we
what
went
I
through.
call the fun part of brain injuries is it's the gift that keeps on giving years
It's
later.
a surprise every time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do say there's always a silver lining in everything, and we certainly have found many silver
Yeah.
linings in this.
There really is. And that's part of the reason why I do what I do is to show people that there are brighter days ahead. There are people that are a lot worse off than I am.
Hmm.
yeah, for sure.
Right now there's people that didn't wake up this morning. So why do I
Yeah.
have a right to complain? You know?
And yet you both do, because
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
the
just
cross you've both been given to carry is tremendous.
it
But
is.
what you've chosen to do is carry it and help raise awareness for others, and
Hmm.
that's important.
And the
yeah,
letters and direct messages and everything that I get saying, I'm so glad you said this. This resonated with me, and I'm
yeah,
so pumped. I've got new hope. I'm going to keep going.
yeah,
That's what awareness is all about.
And that's why, oh, and that's, sorry, I was going to tell that story that when I was in the neurology office, there happened to be an article in a neurology magazine of a woman whose husband had a brain injury. And she said in the article, it took a long time for us to find each other again, but we are 12 years out, and we're a happy couple again. And I remember reading that and going, oh, I just have to wait long enough,
yeah,
and I actually found her name, reached her out to her on Facebook and said, I need to talk to you more about this. And I'm still friends with her today, but she's the one that told me, hang in, it does get better. And I did, and it did get better. And so my message, if anyone sees this or hears it, and you're in those early year throes of a person you don't recognize, it will get better. Hang in there. It's really scary those early years, but you can make it through together for
That's
sure.
awesome. That is awesome. I'm glad you made that connection with her.
Yeah, that's why I think these stories are so important to get out there,
Yes.
because, like you said, there's other people going through it today. They just felt today, and their family is about to go through this. And what can you tell them?
Right. And then when you hear a story and you're like, wait a minute, I do that too.
Mm,
It gives you so much validation that you're not crazy
yeah,
for one. And then you're like, wait a minute, that person's still muddling through life and
yeah,
I can too.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a beautiful thing, and we all learn from each other.
Yes.
yeah.
That's what it's all about, the community.
Yeah, the community that they like the grateful with a capital G is a gift that I understand now that
Yeah.
I didn't appreciate the same way before all this happened, and that's been a gift. Um, Accepting the capabilities I have now
Hmm.
and the outcomes that I've had, and just appreciating from what they are,
Right.
appreciating the smaller things in life has been. Uh, I'm not a spiritual person, but these are the closest things I've had to spiritual um, uplifting, and kind of
Yeah.
fulfillment is to be like, hey, you know what? Every beautiful day is just that. It's a beautiful day, and enjoy it for what it is.
Hmm.
And hopefully you'll remember it going forward.
That's the thing too,
Yeah,
is the memory.
Yeah.
I used to get so bent out of shape because I'm like, I'll watch a TV show and my wife would go, "We just watched this." I'm like, we did. But then one day I realized, I was like, this is a whole brand new show to me. I can watch something all over again and it's a brand new show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
That happens to me sometimes, but then also because my mind is working so fast and so hard, I'm using more executive function than rote function of my mind. So when I'm watching a show, I feel like I'm writing the script as it's happening. So sometimes I game out what's going to happen. So I never really watched sports either. So sometimes I'll watch baseball because I truly don't know what's going to happen next. Because if I'm watching a show, I either forget what happened at the beginning of the show when I started, that could happen too.
Yeah.
Or I would have gamed out what's going to happen, so it's not entertaining anymore because this happened exactly like that other show happened.
Yeah.
Because I'm just constantly floating above at a calculus level when I should be just goofing off and watching a TV show. But the calculus is keeping the lights on, and I'm happy to have it. So, yeah.
That's a great attitude to have. It really is.
It's also great. He's been able to say things like that, like, when he gets frustrated, like we can't changing plans is really hard for him.
Mm,
We've learned again
Yeah.
adjustment, right? So like he needs to know logistics ahead of time and then count on those same logistics. And
yeah.
he said to me, it's because I've already done all the calculus
Yeah.
of what I need to do when I get to that location. And if I don't have that all figured out, I will like literally like my brain will shut down. Like I would need to walk away because I could not actually adult in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took us what
A
eight
long time for
nine
me to
years
describe
before
it.
he
Yeah.
could describe it to me, and before I didn't go, why are you being this way? We just had to
Yeah, because
change dinner
I've already
time or
modeled
something
this
like
out, how
this,
this
right?
is going to take place. And that's how I do things that seem
I get it. Yeah.
normal, or he seems fine,
Mhm.
or wow, how was he able to do that? I thought he had a really bad injury. It's because I've already done this in the lab, and now I'm simply executing on that which I've predicted,
Yeah.
but making sure things happen as they're supposed to happen and not,
Hmm.
or, sometimes just being wrong about it gets frustrating, and you tend to recoil from that, So we went to, for the 4th, we went to fireworks, and the logistics of walking into our local stadium to watch the fireworks and calculating the speed and distraction level of every person in the crowd walking simultaneously,
Mm.
and just getting to the place where you're sitting on the grass to watch the fireworks. Everyone thinks that the fireworks is really loud. That must be hard for them. And that is, but it was the walking in there and remembering where we parked and the getting back
Oh yeah.
and the navigation involved is exhausting.
And it's
Yeah.
not something he can rely on the people around him and just, we'll take care of it. That's not, I've learned that's not possible for
No,
him.
no,
His brain is still
I
going to
need
do
to
it.
know because yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have I mean, at least have to have the illusion that I am driving the bus.
Well, hey,
All
that's
because
just how you're wired. You get,
yeah,
Yeah. So there's many times he's chosen to stay home for the fireworks because that is a very difficult
yeah.
task for him. We've learned the tasks that use too many oranges,
yeah,
and that
Yeah.
is one of them. Or we have many others identified. And then sometimes he goes, you know what, I want to try this year because it's important to you, it's important to the kids, whatever. And so again, he tries,
yeah.
but we know what it takes.
A lot of times I'll say too that um, I would prefer to stay at home where I know the outcomes,
That's
but I
me.
choose to go out periodically. So I prefer to stay home where nothing at all happens and my chair is where my chair is
Yeah.
and there's no variables involved. But I choose to go out and do things because that's what life is. So I undertake those challenges with intention as best I can.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm fortunate in that in many cases it's worthwhile. So we've been able to travel and go to new countries. But when everything is a challenge and everything is tricky, going to Paris, we haven't been to Paris, but going to Paris is just as hard as going downtown to pick up um, uh,
Yep.
something at the pharmacy
Hmm.
because you just don't know what's going to happen. It's impossible to predict. So
Yeah.
they're equally exhausting. So you might as well do, the adventuresome thing when you can, when you have the batteries to do so.
Yeah. Well, every day's a question mark. That's how I describe my brain injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned about how the day passes, and there's been certain media references I've seen. So there was a book called Flowers for Algernon,
Oh yeah, I
and
know that
it
book.
made into a movie called I, Charlie.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was in the late 60s. But I haven't read that book for 35 years. But like, I got hung up on it because I'm like, oh, so in the story, somebody's challenging, is doing chemistry changes to a mouse so that the mouse gets smarter, it can get through a maze. So they go do all these tests with that, and then they try it on a human subject, and he gets very, very, very smart, like extremely smart, smarter than anybody. But then it all falls apart, and he goes right back to where he was again.
Yeah.
Um, and fortunately, that has not happened to me or people I've heard of, but that is could be every day of the week, and it's certainly every Monday through Friday, where I'll have periods where I can be most effective, and I try to take advantage of that. And then I have periods where it's not time for that anymore. It's time to stay in the safe zone and
Yeah.
um, stay out of trouble, basically. So,
Yeah. Awesome.
yeah.
Guys, it's been a great conversation we've had today. I
Thank you for
like to
having me.
give the last couple of minutes to both of you to just encourage the audience that's watching.
All right. So I've talked a lot about different analogies I have. So for me, one analogy has been of the damaged part of my brain is that I used to walk home from school a certain way that was simple. Now I don't know why, but I have to go the long way
Mm,
to accomplish the same thing. And it is there's no it's apparent that there's no getting around it. And that the things that were once easy and came right to hand take extra effort. And it's apparent to me that a different part of my brain that wasn't designed to do that is now doing that work
mm,
because I have tissue in my brain that's doesn't operate as brain matter anymore to do what it was intended to do.
yeah.
Um, Something I described to my boss when I left work, when I decided to leave work, was that if I was a battleship, the engine room has taken on a lot of damage.
Hmm.
And now the command crew has to go down to the engine room and keep the engine running. But
Right.
God bless them, it's just not their job. They're smart, they know how to command, but they just don't know anything about the engine. So they do the very best that they can. It's people, uh, elements of your mind doing work that it was not designed to do, but it does the very best job that it can do
Yeah.
to accomplish the same things. And that can lead to a lot of fatigue and exhaustion, and respecting that um, part of my new reality is something I've kind of leaned into and
Hmm.
had some success with.
Yeah.
And it keeps that game of pretending to adult going that much longer.
Yeah.
And that's fulfilling. Um, so I do like that.
Awesome.
For me, as a caregiver, what I would say to others out there is, early on, as I mentioned, after the injury happens, those are probably the most darkest, difficult days. And what I learned in retrospect is you're not only just trying to manage the household your jobs, maybe the kids, maybe whatever's going on in your life, you're now handling it by yourself.
Mm.
And you're trying to do that, but at the same time, you've just suffered a significant loss as well. As they say, the accident didn't just happen to Barry; it happened to the family as well.
Yeah.
And so I learned a term called ambiguous loss. My husband was standing in front of me, but this was not my husband. I lost my other husband, my old husband, and that. So I was going through feelings of grief and denial and anger and all of that. Well, you're also trying to work full time and take care of the kids. Kids, by the way, who struggled with PTSD and their own grief of losing their dad. And of course, I had the PTSD, and it just felt like the balls in the air and the snowballs just kept coming, right?
Yeah.
But lean on your community, lean on your friends that are willing to actually listen and understand. I had a few of those, and boy, I tapped out those friendships. But I thank them today because they didn't push away. We lost friends through this.
Yeah.
We gained new friends through this. Yep. And those that would sit and listen and go, I don't need to tell you I understand. I just want to hear and I want to help. They were amazing. And so lean on those people and trust in the relationship you had. Thankfully, we were married 20 years before this happened.
Mm-hmm.
We had such a good foundation. And so I found myself kept leaning back going, I remember the old him. I knew I wasn't going to get him back, but occasionally I'd get those glimpses, and it was those glimpses that kept me moving forward until we found that groove again. Like I said, it took many, many years, but I will say I'm a very blessed person because I got to fall in love with this guy twice. And not many people. So we just celebrated 33 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're very lucky.
Yes.
So, and then the last thing I would say is always give yourself grace and be kind to yourself, because this is not easy to get through for either one, for the survivor or the caregiver.
Absolutely. Grace is a must.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've enjoyed our conversation today, and I can't wait for our viewers to watch this because this is great.
Oh, super.
Thanks, Ron. Yeah. And thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
We send our positive thoughts to you and your family too as you continue this journey.
Thank you so much. Guys, it's been great having them on today. If you are new here, visit our website, myliferewired.com. If you want a resource, look for it there. Anytime I find something that's helpful, I put it on our website so you don't have to recreate the wheel. Until next week, this has been Life Rewired.
This is me, my life rewired.